Morning, everyone. I will call to order a meeting of the Kent County Board of Commissioners, and we will start by taking the roll call.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Commissioners Wooden.
Here.
Teal.
Here.
Sparks. Ponstein. Pekla.
Here.
Oliver King.
Here.
Merchant.
Here.
McLeod.
Here.
LeGrand.
Here.
Coleman.
Here.
Hildenbrand.
Here.
Hennessy.
Here.
Green.
Here.
Diaz.
Here.
DeBoer.
Here.
Burl.
Here.
Bujak. Breevy, or
Here.
Vice Chair Breevy, sorry. Commissioners Baker.
Here.
Antor. Chair Steck.
I'm here.
Mr. Chair, you have 20 members present, 1 absent. You have a quorum.
Thank you very much. I will now call on Commissioner LeGrand for the invocation.
And this is on? Is this on? Okay. The prayer that I'm going to use this morning comes from the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops. They have a project called Civilize It, in response to the Pope's call for more civilized discourse in politics. And I find it very moving and very appropriate for the work that we are doing. So pray with me. Lord, make us instruments of your peace. Where uncivil words prevail, show us how to model love. Help us remember the God-given dignity of all and invite others to do the same. Show us how to build bridges and not walls, and to see first what unites us rather than how we diverge. Let us seek to understand before asking to be understood. Give us listening hearts filled with empathy and compassion. May we be clear in sharing our own positions and respectful and civil in describing those of others. Let us never tolerate hateful ideas. May we invite all to charity and love. Lord, help us to imitate your compassion and mercy. Make us instruments of your peace. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner. Let's move to our first special order of business, and we have with us today Mr. Dale Robertson from the Grand Rapids Public Museum to give us our first presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the Commission. My name is Dale Robertson. I'm with the Grand Rapids Public Museum. Also with me is my colleague, Dr. Stephanie Ogren, and you'll be hearing probably most of the presentation today from her. I'm not from here. I didn't move here till I was in my 40s, but I want to spend just a minute or two talking about a native Grand Rapidian, and that is Stephanie Ogren. Like to brag on our own, and she's a Grand Rapids native, Catholic Central grad, so you're a cougar. Central Michigan for bachelor's, Central Michigan for master's, and then that wasn't far enough north, and she went to Michigan Tech for a PhD. She is an aquatic biologist and an ecological restorationist. All right, close enough. She's a scientist. She's actually the one leading this investigation project with the Federal Fish and Wildlife Service, the DNR, Grand Valley State, to discover and document naturally reproduced sturgeon in the Grand River. The Grand River is the only river in the Lake Michigan watershed where we have not identified where exactly sturgeon reproduce. So I bring this up because there will be papers written on, but she's a scientist and she is leading this and she is our educator at the Grand Rapids Public Museum. So you get that high level right down to that retail interaction. It's a strong portion and part of what we do. So you'll hear from Stephanie a little bit later. So the headline in a article in the Christian Science Monitor from 1940 said, This building, of which I'm showing you a picture now, the old museum building at 54 Jefferson, was to be as accessible as your neighborhood dime store and as friendly as your next door neighbor. That's how Frank Demond, my predecessor, described the Grand Rapids Public Museum when it opened. And it was a unique design in the time when it opened in the nation. And so, but he went on to further define, and you can't really see it, it's what's circled there in blue, but it's the dedication plaque. And that circle piece talks about how the building, to further define that, is dedicated to the free dissemination of knowledge to all. So all means all. And so how do we define that in these days as we begin to make our way forward? And what I frequently said in going through that when I talk is that we're really just implementing Frank Demond's playbook in the 21st century. That's really all that we're doing. And the point I want to make to this is these are Grand Rapids, West Michigan values that have been with us for generations, put in stone when that old museum building was dedicated, and still is a foundation of what we do today. So then it's up to us to define it right now in the 21st century. So to me, what does that mean? That means you start with all means all, so we all feel that this is a place where we can see ourselves and have that comfort, but also going back to Frank's comments that were quoted in the newspaper, we have to be physically and cognitively accessible to the broadest population. The two things we all have in common, right, our bodies and our minds. We have to be able to get in the building, navigate, but we've got to have all of the teaching, right, be able to impact us and take it in. So to that end, years ago, we began to work with the occupational therapy program at Grand Valley State University, special education teachers, particularly Kent County or the Hope Network Autism Center, with the idea that if we can get things right for those of us on the edges of the learning spectrum, it improves the experience for those of us more in the middle. So that's when we talk about cognitive accessibility. You know, we've all got our own learning styles. We have a particular embrace for the autism community, and that's really a main part of what the occupational therapy program does. Color, temperature, texture, all of that matters. And the great thing, again, in a connection to what Dr. Ogren is doing, is that Grand Valley Occupational Therapy Program professors and students have published papers that are having nationwide impact on how museums and other public buildings work. And then we're able to implement it here, right here in our folks in Grand Rapids. So we want to operate on multiple levels and take what the talent that we've had and we discovered and share it, right? Good for us, good for West Michigan, right? Good for the public museum. So I thank you for giving me these opportunities here to brag a little bit. I know we don't like to brag here in West Michigan. I'm a downriver Detroit guy. I got no humility from West Michigan. But I like to share with you about just the specialness that we have. But at our core, what are we? We're an educational institution. So here's my predecessor, Frank Demond. He's the guy there in the suit standing in the middle. All right, so he began to have these free educational lectures. Back when the museum was in the Howlett Mansion, before when the old museum, free educational lectures for the kids in the neighborhood. And look at them, it's a Saturday, and they're showing up. So what are we as our core? This is it. We are an educational institution right from the very start, and that's what underlines everything that we do, informs everything that we do, and for learners of all ages. Right? It's one of the great pleasures of working there that I get to take it in every day of things that we're roommates with a bunch of 6th, 7th, and 8th graders in a museum school that Dr. Tony Baker helped co-found. But particularly, it's the youth. We'll hear from Stephanie in a minute about the number of kids that we serve, but that's the foundational pieces of where we are and what we're doing, and we're going to talk about this expansion, which has been actually driven by community demand as well as responsibilities that we have as a community, as a public institution, with the broader goals that you all have here in cooperation with the river and economic development and vitality and growth of this county and of this region. So this is just a quick summary of things that we've just done this year. We had a couple of nice exhibits that we just closed, Ice Age and Snow. And the Ice Age, we're able to bring out a couple of the mastodon bones, which for those of you here last year, remember I shared that because it was just a few weeks old. And then the other thing I do want to point out that I'm really proud about is Ferris State University approached us. They have the Jim Crow Museum there. They are designing a traveling exhibit that they want to go nationwide. And would we be the first to host it? And would then, because we do traveling exhibitions, would we be the ones then to work with them to create the site design for that exhibition and the lighting and the panels and test it out in our building so then they would have a template that they could use in every other institution? And we did it, and if you got through it, I will again brag again, it was, first of all, the design and the content that Ferris State did was really phenomenal. I mean, it was really strong. And then what we were able to do with our folks, it was impactful. And I'm very proud that they asked us, and I'm very proud that we met the challenge, and I hope it goes nationwide because it is really, really well done. And again, good for West Michigan and good for Ferris and good for us to be leading in that way. So with that, please, Stephanie, quick to your slide, my colleague and Vice President of Education, Dr. Stephanie Ogren.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for having us today. So I wanted to share just a couple of facts and figures that we've been working on as we work through our fiscal year end. And in 2003, we had an amazing year. It was a really good comeback post-COVID, and we had over 200,000 visitors at the museum. When I was putting this together, I thought the most important part to share was, 40,000 of those visitors are group visitors, so they're students going on field trips. And Dale and I always argue because I say 30,000 is our max, and then we got to 40,000. He's like, so 45,000? I'm like, no, we were packed, and our teachers were slammed, but it was a great year. Of those 40,000 students, 29,406 were Kent County students. And so we do have, a core impact right here in the county. And due to our millage, those county students are free to attend the museum. And so it's an amazing impact. Those schools come back. They give us tons of great feedback and testimonials. A lot of them do guided programs at the museum, but they also access our digital resources as well as curriculum guides that teachers can then use back in the classroom to extend those field trips. We know out of school adventures are really important for student learning and to spark that interest, but it's even more impactful if the teachers then tie it into what they're doing on a day-to-day basis. And so we have some amazing curriculum guides that the teachers are then able to use, and they also have access to our team of educators to continue those discussions. So I know Dale brought the mastodon bones last year for this presentation. Students get things like that when they come on their trips. We have what we call artifact kits that we check out and we send to schools. So even if a school couldn't come because of busing or weather or whatever it was, they often will request an artifact kit, and then they can have those museum resources right there in their classroom as well. And so that's on top of the 30,000 kids that come to the museum to experience that place on the Grand River. And because of those numbers, one of the big projects that we've been working on over the past 4 to 5 years is thinking about an expansion and how the museum interacts with the community, what's our footprint, how do we share resources like those artifact kits more effectively, and how can we really become the museum of the 21st century. So it's not a place you just come to and look at things under glass, but you come to and you do activities, you ask the next best question, And you really learn about your heritage, your culture, and the city here and the region of West Michigan. And so through that, we've been working with community engagement to really come up with a strong plan to expand the museum and sort of change the look and feel a bit. And change is hard for everyone, but we're really excited about what's coming. And so what you will see if you walk down Pearl Street today is the beloved artifacts that are on the lawn, the space capsule, the Liberty Bell, the geese, the float copper, are all being packaged up. And they will be going to safe and secured storage. So there's cranes on the lawn right now getting ready. So once we have all of our bids in place, we have all of our construction and subawards in place, we can start. And we'll be able to take off running with that riverfront portion of the project. And the riverfront portion goes all the way from Pearl Street to our neighbors at Grand Valley State University and truly provides universal access to the waterfront as well as educational opportunities and learning spaces along that corridor. It also connects that 7.5-mile downtown trail to the other trail system. So it'll connect out to Ottawa County as well as to the White Pine Trail and really provide a really nice corridor with a look and feel that's signature to Grand Rapids and that idea of river for all. In addition to the riverfront, so that's the portion that we are starting on right now and getting ready to do that 24 months of construction. We also will be doing a brand new west entrance. This provides group gathering space as well as a new entrance for the public to house those 40,000 students. So right now, if you come to the museum and you're with your family, you might be in the middle of a class of 60 kids who are checking in. And so this allows us to separate the flow of traffic, so families will be able to come in unimpeded, as will school groups. And so this expansion and this portion of the project really is what's going to allow us to increase our capacity not to 80,000 kids, but to probably about 70,000 kids that will be able to enjoy the museum. And we're really excited for that. And part of the reason this expansion even started the discussion was because we started turning schools away. We just didn't have the capacity to host all of those students in an appropriate way during the school year. And so that was one of many factors that has led to this redesign. And so this new west entry, which hopefully we'll be starting on in the coming years, will host those students as well as make a better experience for the public. And then I would just say, additionally, we know we have a lot of, capital construction to do and really, some facelifts to do, but we need to do our due diligence, and we've been working really hard to update our core exhibits as well. So we've been working with the indigenous community to update the Anishinaabeg People of This Place exhibit. We'll be updating our West Michigan Habitats exhibit, and one of the perennial favorites, we will be updating the streets of Old Grand Rapids. We will keep 3 of the storefronts for sure. Those will not be changing, but due to construction, we're actually going to be able to add a second floor to the streets of Old Grand Rapids. And so we're really excited about those core exhibit updates as well. So not only are we going to create new accessible spaces, we're going to give a facelift to some of our interior spaces, make sure they're curriculum aligned, and they're really challenging the community to ask that next best question. So with that, thank you.
Are you ready for questions, or you have more?
No, I'm ready. Well, if there are any questions, yes, Mr. Chair, I'm happy to.
All right, good. Any questions or comments from commissioners? Yes, Commissioner Bujak.
Thank you, Chair Stack. The riverfront project that you're doing, is that in coordination with the Rapids project that's going on?
If I may, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, please.
Yes, actually, yes, it is. It's been in coordination with the Whitewater Group. Actually, the city of Grand Rapids actually designated the Grand Rapids Public Museum in its GR Forward Master Plan, which is part of that overall plan that they've worked even here with the county, that we would be that interpretation site for the entire project. So allowed us to get in and talk about the culture, the history, the science. What a lot will happen with Dr. Ogren is that we will now have additional programs because we'll have that direct access where we can talk about all the critters that live in the water flow, how the it's not topography if it's a river, the hydrology of a river, how all of that changes. So, I mean, it's just going to bring that alive. I did learn, by the way, from Dr. Ogren, as we were planning on this, that we actually have gar that swim underneath the carousel. And like, have you ever seen, I mean, like gar are really cool fish. Who knew, right? Who knew but we have them. So that's, yeah, it's going to bring that alive. But yes, it's all been in coordination with the whole entire plan.
All right, anyone else? Yes, Commissioner Green.
Thank you, Chair. Dale and Dr. Ogren, thank you. Just really appreciate this asset to the community and everything that you guys do. A quick question, I think for you, Doctor. I still remember when I was in middle school or grade school and taking the city bus that we got somehow at my Catholic school to take us down to the museum, and it was a great experience. So my question was, what are the typical age grades that students are coming to visit?
Sure. So our sweet spot, I would say, is 4th through 6th grade. We do get quite a few 3rd graders. Curriculum dictates that they learn about Michigan history in 3rd and 4th grade, and so we get a lot of 3rd and 4th graders coming for Michigan history lessons. But, you know, most, I would say probably 70% of our student groups are 4th, 5th, and 6th grades. We also host the Immerse program, which is a week-long program at the museum where classes come for an entire week and make the museum their classroom, and that is for 5th grade students. So
Okay,
that's
great.
sort of our sweet spot.
That's helpful. Thank you very much.
All right, anyone else? Yes, Commissioner Baker.
Yeah, and they also work with a lot of high school and college students, and I've taken many students. And I just want to emphasize Dale's point earlier about Museum for All. When I've taken students there, Dale makes a big point. I think that under the leadership at the museum now is that the public museum belongs to the public, meaning the children. And Dale's lesson usually is that includes City Hall and the county and other public entities, and this whole shift of ownership. And so the students have learned to question, and I think that they've worked very hard to make sure that the students that live in the community can see themselves at the museum. So really just wanted to acknowledge that. And so if people come here and complain about what the county doing, it might be because Dale taught them that the county belongs to them. So.
All right, yes, Commissioner Merchant.
I just wanted to say I have the pleasure of serving as the county representative on the Board of Trustees for the Public Museum, and I just want to thank you for all the work that you do. You are a wonderful leader for the museum, and I just wanted to remind everybody that has children, they're free if you're a county resident in Kent County, so 18 years and younger, they're free, and then they have reduced pricing for Kent County residents as well. So get a membership, join, but thank you so much for everything you guys do.
All right, if there is no one else, again, thank you for your report this morning. Thank you for your leadership, and we're looking forward to these exciting changes that are going on at the museum.
Thank you for the opportunity.
All right, the next item is the first opportunity for public comment. If there is anyone here from the public that wishes to address the board, this opportunity is to address the board on items that are before us on the agenda only. There is a later opportunity in the meeting for general jurisdiction comment. So if you have something to say with respect to the agenda items, please identify yourself by name and address, and you have up to 3 minutes. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Chair Steck. My name is Nancy Nielsen. I live at 14130 Keller Northeast. That's in Spencer Township, Cedar Springs Post Office and School District. I am the outgoing chair of the Senior Millage Review Committee, so obviously I'm here this morning to urge your support for agenda items 8E and 8F, particularly 8F. That would be the senior millage recommendations for 2024. $16,180,356 that you're asked to approve is a new record amount of senior millage funds. It represents, that includes $700,000 approximately in administration too. It represents just over a 5% increase in benefits over the fiscal year 2023. It includes 2 brand-new programs and a transfer of one program from one agency to another. So obviously, I encourage your enthusiastic and unanimous support for that. I want to give particular acknowledgement to Commissioners Hennessy, Coleman, and McLeod, as well as Sandra Ghostin-Jones from the staff who have served on the committee and participated in making these decisions. It's a rather bittersweet morning for me. This is my last appearance before the commission after bringing you annual millage recommendations for about 25 years now. So that has really been my pleasure to serve in that role, and the only one actually in the last 25 years. I would like to just acknowledge the special kudos to somebody. I don't know who it was back in 1998 after the first millage was first passed that decided that the county should contract with the Area Agency on Aging of Western Michigan for the actual administration of millage. This was an absolutely drop-dead brilliant decision. Their motto is the source for seniors, and they not only do they administer our millage, the senior millage, the county millage, but they administer the Older Americans Act funding as well, and have at least their pulse and fingertips on most of the other major funding streams, which means that it gives us real bang for the buck for our senior millage money because they can big funding picture. Most programs receive funding from more than one source. Best bang for the buck for our millage. Working with that group for the past 25 years, I consistently top-notch professionalism and knowledge of the contract administrators. It's been a wonderful partnership between that nonprofit organization. Really, again, appreciate somebody's foresight back then. It really has been an honor for me to serve in this position for the past 25 years. Clearly defined my own retirement, and I guess that really, the truth be told, it has been like an unpaid third career for me. Extremely rewarding. And I would be remiss if I didn't comment that, particularly now, in this time, when there is just so much bitterness, so much acrimony around government, it has been just an honor for part of my county's government to work and to see. Please vote yes when you get down to 8F. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. And if you would make sure you stick around until we get through that vote, that would be great. All right, anyone else? All right, if not, we'll move to our next item, which is the consent agenda, and I will call on Commissioner LeGrand.
Chair, I move the consent agenda for today's date.
Support.
It's supported by Commissioner Coleman. Questions or comments? If not, this is a roll call. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On the motion to adopt the consent agenda, Commissioners Wooden,
Yes.
Teal, Sparks, Ponstein, Pekla,
Yes.
Oliver King, Merchant, McLeod, LeGrand,
Yes.
Coleman,
Yes.
Hildenbrand,
Yes.
Hennessy, Green,
Yes.
Diaz, DeBoer, Burl,
Yes.
Bujak,
Yes.
Vice Chair Brevy,
Yes.
Commissioners Baker, Antor, Chair Steck.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, you have 20 yeas, 0 nays. The motion passes. The consent agenda is adopted.
Thank you. We'll now move to our resolutions for this morning, and I'm starting with 8A. I call on Commissioner McLeod.
Thank you, Chair. I move Resolution 8A of today's date, number 84, update of fiscal policy credit cards coming to us from the Administrator's Office.
Is there support for that motion?
Support.
Supported by Commissioner Burrow. Questions or comments? I see none. This is a voice vote. All those that support the motion, please say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, say no. It is approved. Next item, 8B, I will call on Commissioner Oliver King.
Thank you, Chair. I move that 8B, 2024 current unmet, today's date, 2024 current unmet needs funding, which comes to us by Department of Health and Human Services.
Thank you. Is there support?
Support.
Supported by Commissioner Sparks. Questions or comments? I see none. This is a roll call. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On the motion to adopt Resolution 85, Commissioners Wooden,
Yes.
Teal.
Yes.
Sparks.
Yes.
Ponstein. Pecla.
Yes.
Oliver King. Merchant. McLeod.
Yes.
LeGrand.
Yes.
Coleman.
Yes.
Hildenbrand. Hennessy. Green.
Yes.
Diaz. DeBoer. Burl.
Yes.
Bujak.
Yes.
Vice Chair Brevy.
Yes.
Commissioners Baker.
Yes.
Antor. Chair Steck.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, you have 20 yeas, 0 nays. The motion passes. Resolution 85 is adopted.
Thank you. Now we'll move to item 8C, and I will call on Commissioner Sparks.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to move Resolution 86 of today's date, 2023, ready by 5, Early Childhood Millage Allocation Amendment coming from the Administrator's Office.
Supported by Commissioner Teal. Questions or comments on this motion? I see none. This is a roll call. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On the motion to adopt Resolution 86, Commissioners Wooden,
Yes.
Teal,
Yes.
Sparks,
Yes.
Ponstein, Pecla,
Yes.
Oliver King, Merchant, McLeod,
Yes.
LeGrand,
Yes.
Coleman,
Yes.
Hildenbrand,
Yes.
Hennessy, Green,
Yes.
Diaz, DeBoer, Burl,
Yes.
Bujak,
Yes.
Vice Chair Brevy,
Yes.
Commissioners Baker,
Yes.
Antor, Chair Steck.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, you have 20 yeas, 0 nays. The motion passes. Resolution 86 is adopted.
Thank you. We'll now move to item 8D, and I will call on Commissioner McLeod.
Thank you, Chair. I move Resolution 87, ready by 5, millage budget amendment and allocations for FY 2024, coming to us from the Administrator's Office.
Is there support for that motion? Supported by Commissioner Hennessy. Questions or comments on this motion? I see none, so this also is a roll call, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On the motion to adopt Resolution 87, Commissioners Wooden,
Yes.
Teal,
Yes.
Sparks,
Yes.
Ponstein,
Yes.
Pecla,
Yes.
Oliver King,
Yes.
Merchant,
Yes.
McLeod,
Yes.
LeGrand,
Yes.
Coleman,
Yes.
Hildenbrand,
Yes.
Hennessy,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Diaz, DeBoer,
Yes.
Burl,
Yes.
Bujak,
Yes.
Vice Chair Brevy,
Yes.
Commissioners Baker,
Yes.
Antor, Chair Steck.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, you have 20 yeas, 0 nays. The motion passes. Resolution 87 is adopted.
Thank you. We'll now move to item 8E, and I will call on Commissioner McLeod.
Thank you, Chair. I move Resolution 88, the 2023 Senior Millage Fund Budget Amendment, coming to us from the Administrator's Office.
Is there support?
Support.
Supported by Commissioner Sparks. Questions or comments on this motion? I see none. This is a roll call, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On the motion to adopt Resolution 88, Commissioners Wooden,
Yes.
Teal, Sparks,
Yes.
Ponstein,
Yes.
Pecla,
Yes.
Oliver King,
Yes.
Merchant,
Yes.
McLeod,
Yes.
LeGrand,
Yes.
Coleman,
Yes.
Hildenbrand,
Yes.
Hennessy,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Diaz, DeBoer,
Yes.
Burl,
Yes.
Bujak,
Yes.
Vice Chair Brevy,
Yes.
Commissioners Baker,
Yes.
Antor, Chair Steck.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, you have 20 yeas, 0 nays. The motion passes. Resolution 88 is adopted.
Thank you. We'll now move to item 8F, and I will call on Commissioner Green.
Thank you, Chair Steck. I move Resolution 89, Senior Millage Budget Amendment and Allocations for Fiscal Year 2024 from the Administrator's Office.
Is there support for that motion? Supported by Commissioner McLeod. You can't both have it. Questions or comments on this motion? All right, I see none. Madam Clerk, this is a roll call.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On the motion to adopt Resolution 89, Commissioners Wooden,
Yes.
Teal,
Yes.
Sparks,
Yes.
Ponstein,
Yes.
Pecla,
Yes.
Oliver King,
Yes.
Merchant,
Yes.
McLeod,
Yes.
LeGrand,
Yes.
Coleman,
Yes.
Hildenbrand,
Yes.
Hennessy,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Diaz, DeBoer,
Yes.
Burl,
Yes.
Bujak,
Yes.
Vice Chair Brevy,
Yes.
Commissioners Baker,
Yes.
Antor, Chair Steck.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, you have 20 yeas, 0 nays. The motion passes. Resolution 89er is adopted.
Thank you. As part of item 8F, I would like to ask Nancy Nielsen to join me at the podium if you would, please. And also Commissioners Hennessy, McLeod, and Coleman to join me. All right, it has been 25 years that Nancy has committed and worked on behalf of this county, and that's pretty rare. We did not want that to go by without acknowledging it and presenting you with a proclamation. I will come up here so everyone can see. Whereas Nancy Nielsen is stepping down as chairperson of the Senior Millage Review Committee at the Area Agency on Aging of West Michigan, where she has served in the capacity since the inception of the millage in 1998, dedicated to maintaining older adult independence and the enrichment of their lives. And whereas under her leadership, services and programs funded by the senior millage have contributed to the ability of older adults in Kent County to lead meaningful lives in the setting of their choice, significant progress has been made in preserving autonomy and providing resources for those served and their caregivers. And whereas Nancy has led the Senior Millage Review Committee to fund innovative, quality programs and services, set the standard for transparency and accountability in the millage proposal review process, ensured adherence to established time frames, diligently I will say, and whereas Nancy provided support to the first and subsequent passage of the senior millage campaigns, guided the committee to address gaps in partner agency staff development, and initiated the creation of a millage partner training program to address deficiencies, encouraged the development of programs like Handy Helen that empowers older adult women to learn how to perform routine home maintenance, and Conquer the Kitchen classes that inspire older adult men to learn to plan and prepare healthy meals. Sign me up, by the way. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the Area Agency on Aging's regional county members, Allegan, Ionia, Kent, Lake, Mason, Mecosta, Montcalm, Newaygo, and Osceola, along with the City of Grand Rapids, join with the Kent County Board of Commissioners to celebrate Nancy Nielsen's committed leadership and hard work so that more Kent County older adults can live happy and healthy with sufficient self-determination and dignity. Thank you. Photo op.
Good thing he gave you the right. Unfortunately, I am too. Village meal or whatever yesterday. Updated. It's like they're talking about 60 and above, and I'm like, I turned 60 last year. Really? I think so, don't you? I don't know. Maybe that's what my dad always said. He and his buddies always were at Granny and McDonald's. They got free coffee. Probably did. But they did. Old Dutch guy.
You notice how he did that without an agenda amendment? All right, let's move on to item 8G, and I will call on Commissioner Oliver King. Thank you. Is there support for that motion? Supported by Commissioner, oh, yeah, okay. DeBoer. Questions, comments? None? This is a roll call, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On the motion to adopt Resolution 90, Commissioners Wooden,
Yes.
Teal, Sparks, Ponstein, Pakla,
Yes.
Oliver King, Merchant, McLeod,
Yes.
LeGrand,
Yes.
Coleman,
Yes.
Hildenbrand,
Yes.
Hennessy,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Diaz, DeBoer, Burrow.
Yes.
Bujak,
Yes.
Vice Chair Brevy,
Yes.
Commissioners Baker,
Yes.
Antor, Chair Steck.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, you have 20 yeas, 0 nays. The motion passes. Resolution 90 is adopted.
Thank you. We'll move to the next item, and I will call on Commissioner Hildebrand.
Thank you, Chair Steck. I move Resolution 91 of today's date for the Mental Health Court Implementation Grant Amendment brought to us by the Kent County Circuit Court.
Support.
Thank you. Supported by Commissioner Sparks. Questions or comments on this motion? I see none. This one is a voice vote, so those that support the motion, please say yes.
Yes.
Those that oppose, say no. It is approved. Move to item 8I, and I will call on Commissioner Oliver King.
Thank you again, Chair. I move that Resolution 92 of today's date, approval of special assessment roll brought to us by the Planning Commission.
Is there support for this motion?
Support.
Supported by Commissioner LeGrand. Questions or comments on this one? I see none. Oh, I'm sorry. Commissioner- Vice Chair Brevy.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to clarify that the motion is number 92 through 102.
Correct. It involves, I'm not sure how many different lake levels this is, but multiple. 11. All right. Any other questions or comments on this one? If not, this is a voice vote. All that support the motion, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, say no. It is approved, or they are approved. I'm not sure which. Move to item 8J, and I'll call on Commissioner Bujak.
Thank you, Chair Steck. I'd like to move that Resolution 103 of today's date, purchase of development rights selection criteria for 2024, brought to us by the Administrator's Office, be approved.
Thank you. Is there support for that motion? Supported by Commissioner Pakla. Questions or comments on this one? Commissioner Ponstein. All right. Commissioner McLeod.
Thank you, Chair. I just had a quick question on the selection criteria. So I understand that these are the same criteria that were used in the previous year, but I wondered, in looking through all of the many criteria that there are, the 20 different criteria that are used to, to move these forward, some of them seem like they are, some of the ones that are ranked lower, just from a layman who doesn't necessarily understand how all of this works, I wondered why some of them are ranked with fewer point allocations, even though it appears that they might need to be, have a higher point allocation. Just thinking about things like, the benefits of grassland, which is number 14, or the number 18 and 19, the socioeconomic factors and the existence of a conservation plan. Those seem like things that would be ranked a little bit higher in terms of whether or not it's a good idea to move forward with something like this. And I just wondered, like, how the committee determined that these should receive fewer points than more points, if that makes sense.
Yeah, good morning.
Matt Channing, if you could go ahead and respond to that, that'd be great.
That's a very fair question. What we've done since I've come on board is restructure the selection criteria to position us for the best possible competition for grant awards. And so we really see with these point values is our interpretation of how our funders weight those very same criteria. So we would, as a policy, yes, we recognize that getting BIPOC farmers is by and large probably a good thing. Getting more farmers is a good thing. Our funders don't reward it to that value, and so it would be difficult for us to place it above other things they're looking for and still be competitive.
Okay, that makes sense. So how do you, with this particular process, then value those things? Even though the grantors don't necessarily value them as much, how in this process are they valued?
Well, I think intentionally, in this particular case, trying intentionally to reach out populations that aren't reaching, that we're not having in there yet, and then trying to get them to capture the points that do have larger values, like the meat verification or entering PA 116.
you don't have to get all the points to be competitive, but all the ones you can get really add up to a holistic picture of a good application. And so if someone did come in, for instance, as a BIPOC farmer, they don't get many points for being that underprivileged or underserved class, but I'm going to try and do what I can to get them other assets and other values they can capture.
Thank you.
Now, Commissioner Ponstein.
Thank you, Chair Steck. So I just want to comment on this because every time this issue does come up, we get the no votes on this, and I understand people can vote no on it. You can be against farmland, preservation of any kind. It's funny that the people that do normally vote no on these, they're all for another entity to come in, buy up the farmland, and do whatever they want. And that's fine. That's their property. But that's also true in this case. The farmer owns the property. He should be able to do whatever he wants to do. And whatever he wants to do shouldn't have any roadblocks in it from this county. Now, if the person that's entering into the development right, acquisition is, they've got an opportunity to receive money to help them in that cause, and those are federal grants and state grants. And those are all based on this criteria. So, a no vote on this would mean that you are against assisting the farmers on anything they can do to protect that land. And I know a lot of people think that farmland's just disposable. Let's buy up, 100 acres, put in a bunch of houses that all look the same, have the same color. Every now and then, the developer will move the driveway to say that, it's a little bit different than just row houses upon, row houses. But we've got to have that conversation, and putting roadblocks in front of farmers who want to preserve their farm and do what they want to do with property that they own, not us own, we shouldn't put any roadblocks in front of it. I mean, 3 resolutions ago, we purchased 107 acres to add to another park. A park's going to be a park forever, and we don't seem to have a problem when we lock up land for parks and other things, but for some reason, we always seem to have a problem when it deals with farmland. So just wanted to point that out. Thank you, Chair Steck.
Thank you. Anyone else? Commissioner Baker.
Yeah, but for clarity, we're not voting on whether or not to fund this. We're voting on just the criteria for previously.
That is
So
correct.
this is just the criteria and not a yay or nay on the support of the program.
That is correct. Not
Okay.
a specific acquisition is not before us.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions or comments? All right, if not, this is a voice vote. So those that support the motion, please say yes.
Yes.
Those that oppose, say no.
No.
It is approved. All right, that's the end of our resolutions. The next item is the second opportunity for public comment. If there is anyone from the public that wishes to address the board with respect to our general jurisdictional matters, you may do so at this point. Please identify yourself by name and your address, and you have up to 3 minutes. Good morning.
How you doing, everybody? I'm DeAndre Jones. I go by D Jones. I stay at 967 Tamarack Avenue. First of all, I would like to say I look forward to connecting with our court systems, our surveillance officers, our probation officers, our heads of the courts, our judges, because I'll be connected with them on building an esports program where we educate kids on banking and financial education and different social issues that I care about, probably different social issues that you care about or you probably don't care about. But I grew up just in a juvenile detention and spending a lot of time there. And I've always been a leader. I just always wanted to use my intelligence for bad things. And I grew out of that. But I remember just spending a lot of time in a juvenile detention, going to day treatment. That was the juvenile school, and being in a juvenile detention. And I know there's something called the school to prison pipeline, which is a vital thing, which happens in King County, which happens in the state of Michigan. This is a very, very pro-police state. And I just really I am going to transform our education system. And I am going to go work with our underserved kids and the kids in the hood and the kids that make bad decisions. I got a friend right now that's locked up in Saginaw County, which is a rough county. And he was in a car with some friends, and the guy had 2 pistols, and it weren't my friends, but he said that it was his friends. And even though the guy is known for carrying guns, he said that he was afraid for his life. And so my friend is locked up in Saginaw County right now for 2 guns that aren't his. And I know when my friend is on BS, and I ain't going to explain what that word is, but I know when my friend is on BS, and I don't want that for kids in Kent County. I don't want that for kids around here. I don't want that for white kids. I don't want that for kids that want to go in the hood and think that it's a nice thing, because poverty isn't fun. Arguing with your parent over a $600 SSI check when you got a vision and you want to get a job isn't fun. That was me. I can't tell you how poor I felt. I know it's people that's unhoused and don't have like dirty and stuff like that, and you probably look down on those people, but I can't tell you how poor I felt arguing over SSI checks. I felt very poor. And I think I was a poor kid with a rich soul. I believe in that. And so I really just can't explain like the passion that I have for really transforming the education system and just our system just overall, because this county wasn't built for black people to succeed, and it continuously shows that. And I'm not going to say that it's you guys, but just over the history of politics within the state of Michigan and at all levels, it just hasn't always been fair for people of color. And so I'm not going to depend on politicians. I'm just going to just do the hard work, and hopefully I'll be able to change some things, and hopefully you guys, my work aligns with your views, and we'll be able to work together to change some things around here. I appreciate it, and thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Good morning.
Good morning, Chairman Steck, commissioners and staff, watching by way of video. Daniel Allen Scott, longtime resident of the county. Again, but my real identity is I'm a follower of the Lord Jesus Christ. It was the night of August 24, the night that those tornadoes and high winds came through our area, that Thomas Gordon of 320 East Fulton passed away. News report says he died of a violent heart attack, quote unquote. This is significant because he violently took the lives of so many babies there. Defenseless, innocent children. Again, this is what he did. Tore their limbs off, sucked out their brains so the head would compress so it was easier to get out of the woman's womb, mother's womb. And he was still violently doing this August 24. According to his wife, who was by him at his death, she tried to call EMT units and even the helicopter. They could not get to him because of the trees and the branches that were down because of the storms. She tried to resuscitate him, but was unsuccessful. Thomas Gordon was butchering babies at 320 East Fulton since 1986. Not my estimates, but the estimates of those who were in the know. He was personally responsible for murdering over 55,000 babies. Let that sink in. 55,000. These are the facts. Now, I do not stand before you and glory in his death. I do not stand in front of you to tell you I'm even more virtuous than he is. No, I'm a sinner like he was. But right now, he's wherever he's going to be for eternity, either heaven or hell. Now, he could be in heaven if he is like the thief on the cross next to Jesus, who called on the Lord to save him moments before he died. Jesus told him, "You'll be with me in heaven." I hope he did that. But if he didn't, he's in hell. That's a real place, and it's forever. But praise God Almighty. According to news reports, that place is closed permanently, and no more babies are being murdered at 320.
Thank you.
Next, we have to close down Planned Parenthood.
All right, anyone else? I see no one else, so we will move to our next item, which is the administrator's report. You got it.
Just a few items this morning. Staff is busy on the many major initiatives that we're undertaking as Kent County. Our first quadrant meeting of the fall cycle occurred yesterday. It was hosted by the city of Kentwood, so Commissioner McLeod's district, and she was in attendance with Chair Steck, and we had 3 others as well. So the room was full. We had a lot of local unit attendance and a lot of good conversation and Q&A, and we had a pretty robust agenda as well. So that's the first of 4. We have another this week, then we have a break for 2 or 3 weeks, and then the last 2 just due to scheduling. And so I'm hoping everyone can make those. It's a good chance for us to connect and share with our local units, and we also had most of our elected officials give brief updates as countywide elected officials as well. Yesterday, the House Judiciary Committee did vote out our bill to create a new 63rd District judgeship, and so that's on the floor of the House now, and so we're hoping to get expeditious action on that so the position can be put up for folks to compete for next spring and would be seated January 1, 2025. Also would like to introduce our new equalization director. So Megan Van Hoos is with us. Give a wave, Megan. She joins us most recently as the Township Assessor for Gaines Township, and we're very glad to have her on staff, so welcome. And that's it for today.
All right, thank you, Al. Next item, reports. Any commissioner have a report to make to the commission? Vice Chair Brevi.
Thank you. I just have a brief report from the Early Childhood Millage Subcommittee. We met for the first time last week, and we will still have a couple other meetings just to understand, how funds have been used, how they plan to use them in the future, and we would seek to approve ballot language for our residents in Kent County to make a decision on renewing or, continuing with that millage.
Thank you. Yes, Commissioner Wooden.
Thank you, Chair. The Governing Board for Kent County Community Action met recently and underwent a number of items, but one thing I wanted to bring to your attention, as many of us know, our weatherization program has had a lot of issues in the past, a lot of hurdles and a lot of delays, and while they are still present and they are working through them, I wanted to report on some pretty significant progress. When prior to our new executive director starting, the time it took to complete an intake from the initial contact to someone's intake being completed was 207 days. That's now down to 66. The goal is 30, so we still have a long way to go, but we're down from 207 days from an initial contact to their intake being completed, went from 207 to 66. That doesn't include the energy audit or the contractor phase, which has its own barriers, due in large part due to the contractor shortage we have in a variety of trades. But they are also working with purchasing and others to help expand that pool, including the, I believe it's the kind of reverse bid fair that we have at DeVos Place in the next few weeks. So I just wanted to report that progress is being made at KCCA by incorporating many of the lean principles that have been talked about, and I think that's something we could be proud of. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other reports? If not, I have one report. The Bond Review Committee, which consisted of Commissioners Green, Coleman, and Baker, did submit their work in a report that I did receive. This was a Rule 6 committee appointed earlier, and I have accepted that report as compliant with the charge, and under the rules, may either present that as a full report to the board for adoption or approval, or submit the recommendations on to the appropriate committee for considerations, and I'm going to accept it and refer the recommendations to the LHR for consideration and a decision. All right, nothing else? we'll move to miscellaneous. Does any commissioner have a miscellaneous item? Commissioner Bujak.
Thank you, Chair Steck. Last night I attended the Cascade Township Board of Trustees meeting, and they are very concerned about the ARPA funding and the looming October 1st deadline for the disbursement of those funds for the purpose of the PFAS remediation in Cascade Township. And as their District 21 Commissioner representative, they asked that I address the board to find out what can be done to expedite the completion of that disbursement of funds to Cascade Township. And they asked that I report back today immediately because this is a matter of extreme urgency to them as it involves millions of dollars. Thank you.
Can you see us afterwards, and we'll talk about that. All right, any other Commissioner Diaz?
Thank you, Chair. I just had a quick question. I saw in the news a couple days ago that the Michigan Attorney General was suing the airport in regards to PFAS contamination and cleanup efforts there. And so I was just hoping that the board could receive an update on what's going on with that in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Commissioner LeGrand.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to thank Al and the staff for the great job they did yesterday at the Quadrant meeting down in Kentwood. I learned a lot. I would encourage all commissioners, you will learn a lot if you go and find out more is going on than we hear in these meetings, and it's wonderful to see, and it's great to learn. So thank you. I really appreciated that.
All right, any other miscellaneous? Quiet group this morning. All right. With that, I will then call on Commissioner LeGrand for one last motion.
Thank you, Chair. I move that we adjourn today's meeting until September 28th, subject to the call of the chair.
Is it supported? It is supported. I'm sure someone supported it. All those in favor say yes. Yes. We are adjourned. Thank you all.